The following review may contain spoilers. The best shot in the film is when the city folds on top of itself. This part genuinely feels like a dream, but unfortunately they never really go back to something like this. And kudos have to go out to all of Nolan's filmmaking team. He always has the best actors in the business. There's great cinematography by Wally Pfister, and a great score by Hans Zimmer. Zimmer's music is constant, but never distracting. He always seems to hit the right emotional notes, and genuinely elevates the material. More on these three things later. First and foremost, the amount of exposition is really just on an absurd level, and you really notice it a lot more on a repeat viewing. I checked the time code, and at the 54-minute mark, I realized that almost the entire film to this point is exposition. You'd think it would end after the team begins their mission, but it just keeps going. The chemist has to explain the rules of sedation during the mission. The concept of limbo is explained during the mission. DiCaprio tells Ellen Page the entire backstory with his wife, which lasts for about 10 minutes, during the mission. Seriously, what happened to the show don't tell rule of writing? Why aren't these things explained to everyone before the mission? Wouldn't they have informed everyone beforehand during training? It just makes it seem like the whole team is really unprepared. Isn't this the biggest mission of DiCaprio's life since he'll be reunited with his kids? But you and I know the answer to all this. It's all done to explain shit to the audience. Almost every movie has a little bit of it, but this is just on another level altogether. It's not only in how much there is, but how unnecessary some of it is. Early on in the film, Marion Cotillard tells Leonardo DiCaprio that she won't kill Joseph Gordon-Levitt because he'll just wake up, and that she wants him to feel pain, so she shoots him in the leg. Of course, dream experts like DiCaprio and Gordon-Levitt would already know this, but she's just telling us, the audience. She could have just exchanged a look with both of them and moved the gun from Gordon-Levitt's head to his leg. The audience is smart enough to eventually figure it out, and there are scenes later that explain this anyway. There's a 5-minute chunk of the film in the middle of the mission where the exposition just hits comedic ridiculousness. First, Joseph Gordon-Levitt explains to Ellen Page why they chose a particular hotel room to be underneath another room, 528. Wouldn't she know that before they came in? About a minute later, Joseph Gordon-Levitt explains more stuff to Ellen Page about the kicks, the things that wake you up, like being doused in water and getting to level 3 and the perfect timing for the kick. Wouldn't she know that before the mission? Only 3 minutes later, Ellen Page stops the whole team to ask, wait, whose subconscious are we going into? At this point, I just howled with laughter. The exposition is just relentless. So when you rewatch this film, you really catch its flaws, especially how insane the amount of exposition there is. The other huge problem in the film is that it's shocking in its lack of imagination. Look, you have a device that your characters are lucid dreaming. You can literally do anything you want. You can make it as fantastic and as crazy as you want to. But this film just limits itself to machine guns, bad guys in suits, and an urban setting, a hotel, and a snow-capped mountain range. Let's analyze this in more detail. For level 1 of the mission, this doesn't even have to be in a dream world. The only thing that makes it a dream is a train runs through the middle of the street. Take this out and you could just put this whole scene in the regular world. The team has to capture Cillian Murphy and make him go to sleep and implant an idea into his subconscious. All of the guys chasing after them with guns could have just been like hired mercenaries from Cobalt, and not stuff coming from Cillian Murphy's subconscious. For level 2, they do take advantage of the Dreamworld device, as Joseph Gordon-Levitt is flipping around all over the place and running on the walls and stuff. But in level 3, they really don't take advantage of it here either. It looks like something out of a James Bond movie, everyone wearing these matching white outfits with their white guns. But that's it. They're using the device of a dream world to just color coordinate. In the middle of the mission, Tom Hardy says, "You mustn't be afraid to dream a little bigger, darling," to Joseph Gordon-Levitt, and then presents a grenade launcher and shoots a tower and it explodes. Holy shit. Does this mean they can dream up whatever weapons they want? If so, why do they all just dream of having standard assault rifles? Fuck the grenade launcher, how about a giant fucking laser cannon? How about a fucking jetpack or something? How about I just insert Wolverine's claws into my fists? I think I actually had a dream about that once. This one line of dialogue from Tom Hardy actually ends up mocking the film itself. And the film cuts back to the white van falling off the bridge in slow-mo about 1,000,000 times. Do we really want to look at an ugly white van falling off an ugly old bridge this much? Again, it's a lack of imagination. You have the storytelling device of existing inside dreams. Why couldn't this have been something that was visually appealing? Like maybe the sequence is a boat chase and they end up plunging down a waterfall. Imagine the whole team is just free falling in front of a waterfall in slow motion. This is way more beautiful than that stupid white van. Again, they could have done so many more things with this device existing inside of dreams. I know Nolan doesn't do camp or comedy, so they couldn't really go that far, like riding dragons or fighting space aliens, whatever. But the lack of imagination here is just shocking. I'd first like to mention that I had no problems with Ellen Page's performance. As I mentioned earlier, the acting in all of Nolan's films is always top-notch, and that includes Paige, but this character is really poorly written and on so many levels. So Leonardo DiCaprio is on the biggest mission of his life, which would give him a chance to be reunited with his children. Why would he hire a noob college student, Ellen Page, to be the architect of this mission? She's an architecture student, so I guess the team member needs to transfer architectural skills to this dream world. But if he's gonna go dream world noob route, why then wouldn't he at least hire a professional architect with a lot of experience with her craft? There's a really confusing and peculiar shot during the mission planning sequence where Paige stands near a bunch of hanging architectural blueprints. Why? Do these blueprints enter the dream world somehow? Are the dreamers required to study these blueprints before they go to sleep? Another point, when we finally get to the mission, the levels are, again, an urban backdrop, a hotel, and a snow-capped mountain range. Did Ellen Page create a city on those blueprints? Did she create snow-capped mountains on those blueprints? Do fucking architectural students study how to design snow-capped mountains? Do they take Snow-Capped Mountains 101? The movie never clearly explains what the architect does and how she's supposed to execute any of her skills. When she first meets DiCaprio, they go on some training sequence, which includes that shot with the folding city. During that scene, she creates some mirror doors and just cracks them open. DiCaprio approvingly says, "Very impressive," and we're just left confused. We can assume it's a setup for something she does later on the actual mission, but nothing similar to this ever happens. She doesn't wander around during the mission and make something magically appear that becomes useful to the team. Then the whole purpose of Paige's character suddenly changes in the middle of the movie. She for some reason becomes like DiCaprio's psychiatrist. Again, she's a complete noob and she's an architecture student, not a psychology student. So why is this the character that helps DiCaprio crack the code of his subconscious issues? Toward the end of the film, Paige even has to remind DiCaprio that Marion Cotillard is a projection. Hasn't DiCaprio been haunted by this projection for a long time now? Also, isn't his wife fucking dead? Did he forget that? He's going to believe she's a real person suddenly? We needed the noob architect / psychiatrist to remind him? There are so many other story problems throughout this film. First, how does a Japanese corporate CEO, Ken Watanabe's character, help a man, DiCaprio's fugitive, who is banned from returning to the US, get back to the US to see his children, as he promised in the beginning of the film? As of right now, Bill Gates, off and on the richest man in the world, can't even get anyone in the government to listen to him about the coronavirus, even though he's been studying pandemics for years. How would Saito be able to get murder charges lifted from DiCaprio? Similar to Ellen Page's architectural skills, the film never explains how Tom Hardy is able to be a master of disguise. He turns into Tom Berenger, but how? And why can't everyone on the team do this? Does it require years of mental training? The dream levels were not well thought out. When the van backs off a bridge, Gordon-Levitt goes flying down a hallway and an avalanche starts in level 3. But earlier in the film, the van flips over in level 1, which makes Gordon-Levitt flip around the hallway in level 2, but no one is flipping around on the snowy mountain on level 3. So there was just one moment where the van movement triggered something on level 3, but it's only that one time. Any way you slice it or dice it, this is really bad writing. Also, am I seriously supposed to believe that if you give someone a sedative in a dream that they quote-unquote sleep and go to another level of dreaming? The sedative is not physically given. If it's given in the dream, it's all mental. If someone plants the idea that you're given a sedative in a dream, does that actually make you go to sleep in that dream? This stuff is pretty far-fetched, to say the least. In the middle of the film, DiCaprio explains why he can't be an architect. If he creates the maze, his dead wife appears from his subconscious and sabotages everything. I guess this is because he has a lot of stress because he's accused of a murder. Here's a question. Couldn't anyone have these sabotage elements in their subconscious? What if one of the other team members was, let's say, molested as a child? Wouldn't that child molester sabotage the architecture? Our subconscious is kind of random and uncontrollable, isn't it? Why wouldn't any of the other team members have subconscious projections popping up in these dreams as well? Why is it only DiCaprio's dead wife? There's a scene during the mission planning when Joseph Gordon-Levitt is teaching Ellen Page about the Penrose steps. This is the single most god-awful scene in the movie, and probably the single worst scene in any Christopher Nolan movie. We see the Penrose Staircase, the infinite staircase that is impossible to create, and the film Inception does manage to magically create it. It's created because the camera is placed at a certain angle where it actually looks like a Penrose Staircase, but the camera drops down to reveal it's all an illusion, and we see a huge gap between two of the steps. Here's the problem. The shot is from a high angle, not from Ellen Page's point of view. Ellen Page is clearly seeing it from a different angle, and she's not seeing a Penrose Staircase at all. She's never seeing the illusion at all from her angle as her stairs are going up. So when the reveal happens, it's only for the audience. That reveal doesn't exist for the characters at all. This is 100% farted out of your ass filmmaking. This looks cool, it seems smart, but it's actually dumb as hell. And similar to the mirrored door scene, the Penrose Staircase scene is set up like it's going to have some big payoff later, but Gordon-Levitt just uses it to kill one random bad guy during the hotel sequence, and that's it. In the first act, Leonardo DiCaprio sees the top fall and he feels relieved. Here's a question. Why can't you have a dream that a top stops spinning? Why does a top that stops spinning prove that you're not in a dream? Ellen Page makes a chess piece for her totem. She knocks it down, which I guess is her equivalent of Leonardo DiCaprio's top that stops spinning. Here's a question. Why can't you dream that a chess piece falls down? This whole totem thing doesn't work. It made for a nice poetic last shot, but it simply just doesn't work. So the idea that the team is supposed to incept in Cillian Murphy's subconscious is be your own man. Would the idea of subconsciously planting the notion of be your own man actually make Cillian Murphy dissolve his own company? Is that enough of a thing to make him do this? This is just my theory, but I think the reason why this movie was not up to Nolan's usual high-quality filmmaking is that Nolan just had way too much success with The Dark Knight, and everyone around him saw dollar signs and became yes men. We saw the same thing happen to M. Night Shyamalan, although he's nowhere in the same class of filmmaker as Nolan is, of course. He makes a gigantic runaway hit that comes out of nowhere in The Sixth Sense, and a few more hits after that, and then suddenly the studios just let him do whatever he wanted, which is why half-baked scripts like The Happening and Lady in the Water actually get financed. But there's a difference here. Those movies are universally disliked, while Inception is universally praised. I think the combination of Wally Pfister's beautiful cinematography, Hans Zimmer's amazing score, and the heroic efforts of the cast to spew gobbledygook with earnest emotion just created an illusion that this film is much better than it is. Also, the movie on its surface makes you feel like you're watching something smart, Penrose Staircase references, a complicated script, etc., but if you really look deep into this film, it's just a titanic mess. Sorry to be frank, but for the sake of really honest movie reviews, this is just Christopher Nolan pulling all these ideas out of his ass and having no one around telling him that this stuff doesn't work and that he needs several major rewrites. The people around him don't want to make this genius auteur mad because all they see is dollar signs. My initial opinion of this film was 2 stars, but for this repeat view review, my rating drops down to 1 star. The Rotten Tomatoes percentage for Inception is 87%, which is just way too high. With great reviews, $800 million at the box office, multiple Oscar wins, and a nomination for Best Picture, Inception, in my opinion, is the single most overrated film of all time. I haven't seen Tenet yet, but after watching Inception again, My excitement for that film has gone way down.